The Netflix version of Lost in Space is one of the best shows I have ever seen. It has great action sequences along with good characters, but the best character in the show by far, who always steals the show, is without a doubt Dr. Smith. Dr. Smith is the main antagonist of Lost in Space, or at least she's the main antagonist for the first half of the show. Dr. Smith, from the Netflix version of Lost in Space, is easily my favorite villain of all time. She is also one of the most underrated villains of all time, as I hear literally no one talk about her. To be honest, I don't even hear anyone talk about this show in general, which I feel like it makes it kind of ironic that one of the most underrated villains of all time comes from one of the most underrated shows of all time. Parker Posey, I hope I'm saying that right, played Dr. Smith in the 2018 reboot of Lost in Space, and she is an amazing actress. I don't think anyone else could have brought this version of Dr. Smith to life as much as she did. Today, we are going to be talking about why Dr. Smith is one of the most underrated antagonists of all time and what makes her so great. Before we get started, though, I just want to say Dr. Smith is not actually her real name. Her actual name in the show is June Harris, but she goes under the fake name of Dr. Smith for most of the show, so that is what I will be calling her for most of this video. Before I really get into the video, though, you're going to need a little backstory. In the year 2046, Earth was hit with something dubbed the Christmas star. Earth was still inhabitable after the impact, but received massive environmental damage. The space program has the technology to send people to a far-off planet across the universe called Alpha Centauri. A bunch of space colonists, including our main characters, the Robinson family and Dr. Smith, are on the Resolute space station. But a robot attacks it, leading the colonists to get into their Jupiter ships, but most of the Jupiter ships end up crashing on a planet, stranding them there because they don't have any fuel. In the first episode of the show, Impact, June is first seen on the Resolute when the robot is attacking it. June finds Dr. Zachary Smith, who had been injured by the robot. She steals his jacket and ID in order to be granted access to his Jupiter.
Let me help you.
Oh, thank you.
Here.
Thank you.
Take your coat off.
Oh,
Can you walk?
no, I can't
No?
walk.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, wait. What are you doing?
I'm sorry.
What? What are you doing? Leave me here.
Also, fun fact, the real Dr. Smith is played by the actor who portrayed Will Robinson in the original 1965 series. Anyway, June takes Smith's name in this episode. Unless I say otherwise, I will be referring to June every time I say Dr. Smith from this point onward. Smith escapes the Resolute with the mechanics Don and Tam, leaving the real Dr. Smith to die.
Oh, sorry, Miss.
Doctor. Dr. Smith.
In the next episode, Diamonds in the Sky, the Jupiter crashes on a planet, killing Tam. Dawn and Dr. Smith walk around the planet they are now stranded on looking for help. Smith lies to Dawn, saying she is a psychologist. Smith makes up a story that her brother died in a car accident and the necklace she has reminds her of him. On their walk, Smith and Dawn find a unconscious pilot named Angela, and Dawn carries her with them. Massive storm comes and the group takes refuge in a cave. Smith says she lost her necklace outside and Dawn goes to go get it. In reality, she left it outside on purpose. Smith says to Dawn she is going to go and find help and he should stay with Angela. Unbeknownst to Dawn, Smith had stolen his flare gun when he was getting her necklace. Smith uses the flare gun and is saved by the Robinson family. When the Robinsons ask if she's alone, she says yes, leaving Dawn and Angela for dead.
My necklace. You have one flare left. You'll know when to use it. See you soon.
Son of a bitch!
The Robinsons had found the robot that was attacking the Resolute earlier, but the robot has no memory of why it was attacking the Resolute. Will and Smith are the only characters in the group that know that the robot was attacking the Resolute in the first place and was killing people. The robot is now helping the Robinsons because the youngest child, Will, saved its life, and the robot will do almost anything Will says. Will decided not to tell his family what the robot had done on the Resolute because the robot had helped them ever since they crashed on the planet. In the next episode, Infestation, we get a flashback. We learn Smith's sister Jessica was supposed to be part of the colonist group, but Smith drugged her and dressed up like her to take her place so she could be a part of the new world, leaving her sister tied up in her house. While her sister was unconscious, Smith also cut into her arm to get her identification chip. Smith actually might have gotten away with this if her sister Jessica was not in an affair. The man Jessica was in an affair with recognized that Smith was not Jessica on the space station. Smith and the man fought for a little bit until the man got pushed into an airlock. The airlock was set to open in 10 seconds. The man begged for Smith to let him out, as Smith stood there thinking about what to do. Eventually, time ran out and the airlock opened, killing the man.
Hey, you don't want to do this.
Press to override. 9.
Just press the override button. You don't want to do this,
6. 5. 4.
just press the override button. Please override it!
Smith was then arrested by Captain Raddick, who had videotaped footage of her killing the man. Before Raddick could do anything to her, the robot attacked the Resolute, allowing Smith to escape. Back in the present, Smith starts getting to know the Robinson family. She flatters Maureen Robinson, the mother of the family, with compliments. When Smith learns the ship they're on, which is under a sheet of ice, long story, is in danger of getting crushed, she goes to leave the family, but she ends up getting stuck in the closet with Will. After a little while, she manages to get out of the closet, with Will still trapped inside. She gets into an evacuation pod, but learns that if she uses it, the family is basically doomed.
This operation will compromise the structural integrity of your residential transport vehicle. Further aerial navigation will be eliminated. 29, 28, 27.
Smith decides not to use the evacuation pod, and she helps the family get the ship out of the ice before it's too late. Robinsons and Smith manage to get the ship out of the ice. Before we move on, I just want to mention that almost every time Smith is on screen in Season 1, she has a theme that plays in the background. Her theme is so good and describes her character perfectly. I will leave a link to it in the description. And I will play a very brief clip of her theme right here. In the episode The Robinsons Were Here, it is revealed that Dawn and Angela survived the storm and were saved by some colonists. Judy, Will's sister, talks to Angela, who knows that the robot was what attacked the Resolute. Angela tells Judy this, and Judy finds out Will already knew this. Judy then tells her sister Penny what is going on. The kids decide to hide the robot in a cave for the time being. They do not tell their parents, and they just say the robot wandered away. Meanwhile, Dr. Smith steals a gun the robot made for Will and secretly follows the kids and the robot. After the kids leave the cave, Smith talks to the robot. She tells him that if she's ever going to return to the Resolute, she's going to need his help. Will had told Dr. Smith before this that him and the robot had some weird connection, but Smith tells the robot how humans are unreliable, and the Robinsons and Will turn on him. And when they do, she will be there to help him.
But the thing you'll learn about people is they're unreliable. They're not loyal like you are. They'll turn on you.
Will Robinson.
Yes, even Will Robinson.
Then, in the episode Transmission, John sees Dr. Smith. When he confronts her about leaving him for dead and stealing his flare gun, Smith
I
lies.
would never do that. It was an accident.
So you stole it out of my pack by accident.
Well, I took it out because I was scared. I thought about shooting it off, but I knew what you'd say. That you'd be annoyed. So I put it back, but in the wrong bag.
Dawn buys the lie and forgives her. Later, Dawn is talking to Judy, and Judy finds out Dr. Smith was in the storm with Dawn. And Dawn finds out Dr. Smith said she was alone. Judy confronts Smith about this. She says how Dawn didn't care if Angela lived or died, and didn't bother to bury Tam, and how Dawn is not who Judy thinks he is.
Angela?
Yes, Angela. She needed help. But he just hid under a rock. He wouldn't wait the storm out. It was like he didn't care if she lived or died.
When Judy asks Smith why she said she was alone, Smith said it was to protect her and her family. Later at nightfall, Smith turns off the perimeter fence surrounding the colonists, so something will put Will in danger and the robot will show up to save him. She then tells John, Will's dad, that she saw the kids take the robot into the woods the other day. Well, John starts to confront Will about this. Some type of weird lizard monster thing makes its way through the perimeter fence and starts attacking the colonists. The robot comes and fights the monster off. In the next episode, Eulogy, Maureen tells John that she has discovered their planet is heading toward a black hole, but that she doesn't know how long exactly it will be until the planet goes in it. John and Maureen decide not to tell the colonists yet. Unbeknownst to them, Penny had overheard their conversation. The colonists start discussing what they should do about the robot, and Angela says how the robot killed her husband on the Resolute.
He was the best part of my life. And that thing murdered him in front of me. So to be forced to sit here, listening to people wonder how they can use it, sickens me.
Angela is alone. Dr. Smith tells her how she isn't alone and one of her friends died in the crash when they first crash landed on the planet, but in reality, Smith had just met Tam. Apparently, Dawn never told Angela about Smith, and Smith uses this to her advantage. She implies to Angela that she's the one that wanted to save her, and that some people just need to feel like the hero. Smith then hid the gun she stole from Will in a place she knew Angela would find it. Her plan works, and Angela finds the gun. Smith tells Angela she is a therapist and can help her, and though Angela originally declines the offer, she takes Smith up on her offer later. Smith gets Angela to relive all of her PTSD from her husband dying on the Resolute. When Angela starts to break down, Smith just leaves the room.
I can pick it up tomorrow.
You can't just make me relive all that and then...
I'm sorry. We can pick this up tomorrow.
You can't just abandon me! Dr. Smith!
Angela takes the gun she found and goes onto the Robinsons' Jupiter.
Why don't we go talk outside?
I have no quarrel with you, Mr. Robinson. You're doing what you think is best to protect your family.
I'm happy to discuss this with you after my daughter has left the room.
Dad? No.
Angela shoots the robot until she runs out of ammo, but the robot does not die. The robot goes to attack her, but John gets in the way and it hurts John. The robot looks at Will and stops attacking. Not knowing what else to do, Will tells the robot to walk off a cliff. The robot does, and it dies. Meanwhile, Dawn finds evidence that June is not the real Dr. Smith, but loses most of the evidence when it falls off a cliff. Long story. Dawn shows Judy what evidence he has left.
I don't know who she is, but she's not Dr. Smith. I had even more proof in my hand. photographs, diplomas, pictures of the man with his family, wearing a goddamn St. Christopher necklace.
So why would she?
I don't know. But one thing's for damn sure, you don't go through this much trouble unless you have something to hide.
Also, Penny, in a very stupid moment, tells her crush Vijay, who is the colonist leader's son, the planet is dying. In episode 7, Pressurized, Will tells his parents that the robot had made the gun Angela used. Will says he hid the gun, but it was taken from where he hid it. John and Maureen think someone took the gun and then gave it to Angela. Smith throws out the idea that Victor gave the gun to Angela, since he was never a fan of the robot in the first place. Later, Smith goes to the cliff where the robot got destroyed, and she begins to put him back together.
I'm not crazy. It's just when you spend so long pretending to be something you're not, sometimes you have to say things out loud to remind yourself of what's true. My name's not Smith. It's June Harris. I'm not a killer. Like you. You were made to kill. The truth is that I'm not going to do any of the bad things that are going to happen. You are.
Smith's thinking here is that since Will saved the robot's life, it did whatever he said. So if she saves his life, the robot will do whatever she says. This is why Smith manipulated Angela into shooting the robot, so that she could save its life when Will had to destroy it. In the next episode, Trajectory, Vijay tells his dad Victor the planet is dying, and all of the colonists find out. Maureen designs a plan where they will use what little fuel they have to make it to the Resolute. Her plan is to basically take a Jupiter and take everything out of it that is not 100% necessary. Since they have so little fuel, they need as little weight as possible. John and Don will be the ones in the Jupiter going to the Resolute to get help, and Maureen will be telling them what to do from the ground. Everyone starts working on the plan. Meanwhile, Maureen confronts Victor about giving the gun to Angela, but he says he had nothing to do with that. Judy tells Maureen that Dr. Smith is not who she says she is. Maureen tricks Dr. Smith and locks her in the closet, and Maureen asks who she really is. Smith makes up another lie, but Maureen doesn't buy it and leaves her in the closet. When John goes near the closet later, Smith tries to manipulate him into letting her out.
I choose my wife.
Your wife? You mean the woman who wanted to take your kids away? And start a whole new life without you? And now she suddenly claims, let me guess, that you're the only one who can fly this Jupiter. That's convenient.
Unfortunately for Smith, John doesn't buy it. Later, when Will gets close to the closet, Smith starts telling him how his father is going to die, but if he lets her out, she can make it so that won't happen. Will buys it, and as soon as Smith is out of the closet, she ties him up and duct tapes his mouth shut. Then we get the ending of the episode.
Engines to 25%. And roll 48 degrees.
Wait, roll 48 where? Left or right? Left or right? 48 degrees left or right?
Yeah, that was the end of the episode. Oh, and by the way, since it was late and I had school the next day, I couldn't watch to see what happened next until 12 hours later. I hate my life sometimes. In the next episode, Resurrection, it is revealed after Smith knocked out Maureen she had kidnapped her. Smith is trying to make Maureen help her bring the robot back. The kids find out there is a bunch of biomass they can use as fuel. It is also revealed in this episode that the Christmas star was just a cover-up, and what really happened was that an alien spaceship crashed down on Earth, and inside the spaceship was an engine which the colonist program used to travel across the universe. And the reason the robot attacked the Resolute in the first place was to take the engine back. Maureen and Smith find one of the robot engines on the planet and take it. It is also revealed John and Dawn are still alive on a piece of the rocket that did not explode, and they are stuck in orbit. This is also the first episode where we really get to hear Dr. Smith talk about her past, but it's pretty vague.
Just a girl.
before her mother died. Before her sister shone brighter in her father's eyes. Before she ran away, fill the emptiness with mistakes.
By the time Judy finds out where her mom is, it's too late, and Dr. Smith has already successfully revived the robot, and the robot now does whatever she says. This brings us to the Season 1 finale, Danger Will Robinson. All of the colonists have taken off and headed towards the Resolute, all except for Will and Penny, who are still on the planet waiting for Judy and Maureen to get back. Eventually, Maureen and Judy get back with Dr. Smith and the robot. Smith says how she needs the robot in order to get back on the Resolute, so that Captain Raddick won't be able to touch her, and all she wants is a fresh start on Alpha Centauri. The Robinson family, Smith, and the robot get into orbit, but Smith does not want to get John and Dawn. Once again, Maureen tricks Smith and is able to lock her in a room with the robot.
You're in the safest room on the ship.
It was designed to survive an asteroid collision.
It was designed to withstand solar flares. It was designed
To repel temperatures that drop to absolute zero. And do you know who designed it?
me. So don't expect to be getting out anytime soon. You can't keep me in here forever. That's true.
But you'll be in there for long enough.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go find my husband.
Maureen tries to get Dawn and John on the ship using a harpoon to get them, but the harpoon doesn't reach. Before Maureen can try again, Smith and the robot break out of the room, and her and the kids go and hide. To make a long story short, the robot turns good again, and a second robot named SAR shows up because he wants the engine Dr. Smith and Maureen got in the last episode. And both SAR and our original robot just end up floating aimlessly through space when the good robot sacrifices itself. John and Dawn show up on the ship, but Maureen realizes she didn't shoot the harpoon a second time, and Dr. Smith did. The Robinsons lock Smith in a room she can't escape from this time.
There's no way I'm letting you out again. We'll see.
Before the Robinsons can take the Jupiter to the Resolute, the engine Smith and Maureen got from episode 9 does something weird to the ship, and it makes it fly into a different solar system. And that is where season 1 ends. If you have somehow watched this entire video and are not convinced Dr. Smith is a master of manipulation, I think you might be broken. So, like I said before, I don't hear a lot of people talk about this show, but from what I do hear, a lot of people don't like Dr. Smith, and I really don't understand why. I feel like the reasoning always boils down to that she's mean, and I'm like, she's the villain. You're not supposed to like her. She's doing her job. In my opinion, Dr. Smith is one of the best examples of a villain you're supposed to love to hate, and she does a very good job at that. I do know some people think the characters in the show are really stupid for not realizing Smith is manipulating them. But first of all, we know what her intentions are, and they don't, so it makes sense that they would trust her. Not to mention, in order to get to Alpha Centauri, you have to do a bunch of tests and pass and be qualified, so they would have no reason to suspect Smith would have anything to do with what's going on. In part 2, we will be covering what Dr. Smith does in season 2 of Lost in Space. I know, very big surprise. Anyway, thanks for watching, and see you next time.